This is Ron Weissakarski with Blue Palm Property Management, and I want to talk to you about our lease fee guarantee, which we feel is super important. From day one of the company, we always wanted to have what we call a 2-year lock to protect our owners from losing a tenant and having to pay excessive fees. We believe that we have our fees set up in such a way that it's fair to us and fair to our owners, and I think it's one of the reasons we're the highest rated company in the area. So what we have in place is we charge a lease fee in order to get set up and rent the property out. So one of the things that we begin with is documenting the property with photos and videos. And they can be used in marketing and advertising, but they can also be used when a tenant eventually moves out in order to compare the photos before they moved in and then after. In case there's any damages, we'd be able to document and verify what the damages were, get them repaired, and then charge the security deposit for those costs to get the property back ready to rent again. There's also times where when we are doing the documentation process and doing our inspections, we're running ads, then we have to procure the tenant, run the credit and background checks, get with our attorney, put leases together. So we do have a lot of time and energy into getting ready to get the property rented out and get the ACH, direct deposits out for the rent. So, there's work involved on our side. And I thought it would be good to explain what that is and then why we charge the leasing fee. So for us, the leasing fee for the first month is half of the rent. So if the rent was $2,000, the owner would get $1,000, we would get $1,000. And then for the next 2 years, we would not charge that leasing fee again, because sometimes the tenant moves out and we want a good relationship with our tenants and our owners. And we believe that if we can get that tenant to stay more than 1 year, it's a win for everybody. But in the case where maybe, just maybe, for their own reasons, the tenants want to move on, or maybe there's a situation where, maybe it's not good to renew the tenant. We don't want our owners to be punished, so to speak. So we share the pain with them. And what happens is, at the end of the first year, if the tenant moves out, we go in, we re-inspect, we take new photos, and do all the same work we did the time before. We pay for ads, we procure a new tenant, but we don't charge the leasing fee. We just charge the same monthly fee, which is 10% from us, and that's an ongoing expense, and we just do it that way. So it saves our owners a bunch of money if we have to replace a tenant within the first 2 years. So we just call it a 2-year lock, and our owners love it because they know that we're invested in this together. And when you think about some of the moral hazards that can go along with this. Let's suppose, that a company want to make more profits. Could they not renew a tenant or not get that done and then charge them a leasing fee, year after year after year? Now, I'm not saying any company would do that, but I do feel that, as a consumer, you would want to be protected from any chance of that happening where they're not renewing tenants just to get a bigger leasing fee. And I hope that makes sense. And the other thing, along with this for 2 years' time, it gives us enough time to understand our owners, our properties, and what their goals are. And certainly for us, they want to also understand what everybody's goals are. So the good news is this: with a lease fee guarantee such that we have right now, people tend to stick with us year after year after year because they know that they can trust us and we're mutually aligned on this. And let's face it, if the owner isn't paying, not getting rent, well, so are we. And it's not a good situation for anybody to have to always go find a new tenant every year. So we're doing what we can to get in the way of making sure we get a lot of renewals. But if not, we're going to guarantee that we're going to replace that tenant for free within the first 2 years. If you got any questions, let us know. We definitely look forward to speaking with you more about Blue Palm Property Management.